just imagine you've been following Jesus for some time. You're not necessarily one of his disciples, but you're not necessarily a distant crowd person either. You're more than just the crowd. You're very interested. So you continue to follow Jesus, and you follow him in to another synagogue on yet another day to hear what he has to say. It was a synagogue much like this. Not necessarily this exact synagogue, but much like this in the northern Galilee. This synagogue is in Chorazin, which is one of the three main towns, Chorazin, Capernaum, and Bethsaida, in the triangle we like to call it in northern Galilee, where Jesus spent most of his time healing and teaching. And you would follow Jesus into a synagogue like this and listen to him teach from the Torah scrolls and from the prophets. The room, like this, is rectangular, like all synagogues were, with seats all the way around. The chief seat, or the chief ruler, chief president of the synagogue would take the chief seat. They're not exactly sure where that was. But you would walk in. Again, not a disciple, but not necessarily a distant crowd person either. You would take your seat, waiting to hear what this rabbi would say. Just off to the center of the synagogue is a slightly raised platform called the Bema seat, where they would read and discourse with the people around the synagogue. At the beginning, at the entrance of the synagogue, there was a seat referred to as the Moses seat, which makes sense. They would bring the Torah scroll out first, they would read from the Torah, and then they would bring the scroll of the prophets out and read from a section of the prophets and do something similar to a sermon that we've talked about before. It is in this place that the head rabbi, in this case Jesus, would take his normal seat, the Moses seat again. Again, speaking as if it were Moses himself that was on Mount Sinai receiving the scrolls from God directly. So it is that the people, time would span together, Moses to Jesus now, speaking on behalf of the people. It's at this point that a woman walks in. She stooped over, Luke says, and bent over, and she has been for years. And in a town like this, everybody knew her. Everybody knew who she was. Everybody knew her background. Luke says she had a quote-unquote spirit of weakness, which really means they don't know what it was. And we'll pick up the passage there as Jesus interacted with her from the Moses seat. In Luke chapter 13, verse 10, it starts this way. On a Sabbath, Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues, and a woman was there who had been crippled by a spirit for 18 years. She was bent over and could not straighten up at all. When Jesus saw her, he called her forward and said to her, "Woman, you are set free from your infirmity." Then he put his hands on her, and immediately she straightened up and praised God. Indignant because Jesus had healed on the Sabbath, the synagogue ruler said to the people, "There are 6 days for work, so come and be healed on those days, not on the Sabbath." The Lord answered him, "You hypocrites! Doesn't each of you on the Sabbath untie his donkey or his ox from the stall and lead it out to give it water? Then should not this woman, a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan has kept bound for 18 long years, be set free on the Sabbath day from what bound her?"